Hello, explorers, and welcome to Reach the World's Explorer program. For 25 years, Reach the World has inspired youth to become curious, confident, and compassionate global citizens through virtual exchange. My name is Tim, and today is our first live event with Reach the World's newest explorer and expedition. Peace Corps volunteer and civil engineer Jacqui is joining us live today from Peru, and this is our chance to get to know her better as we embark on a virtual exchange journey to Peru together. Very warm welcome to the teachers and students who are joining us live today or will be watching this recording a bit later. We know there's some of you in that camp. I'd like to give a very special shout out to the Sunset Beach Elementary School in Hawaii, especially Miss Hagen's class, Spring Grove Area Middle School in Pennsylvania, hi Miss Staples' class, Dryden Junior Senior High School in Michigan, hi Miss Yerk's class, Loveland High School, hi Miss Ray's class, Westmoreland Central School in New York, hello to Miss Bevins, and the Maramsco Hills Elementary in Virginia. We are very, very glad you're joining this expedition, and I can't wait to see what kind of questions you have for Jacqui. If you are tuning in via YouTube, and I know there are a bunch of you ready to go today, please use the chat bar to let us know you're here, where you're joining from, and to share any questions you have for Jacqui as we go. We'll get to as many questions as we can in the next 45 minutes. All right, all of that said, are you ready to travel virtually to South America? I sure am. Here we go. Let's bring Jacqui onto the screen. Hello, Jacqui, and welcome to Reach the World.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, it is wonderful to see you today and to have you joining us live from Peru. This is the first live stream of your virtual exchange from Peru. And while we have read a little bit about you in your first article for your virtual exchange, this is our chance to really get to know who Jacqui is, how Jacqui became a Peace Corps volunteer and a civil engineer in Peru. So I'm going to just stop talking and turn it over to you. And we've got some photos and some storytelling to do.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tim. Excited to share my adventure with you all. My current background is actually the main plaza where I live here on the southern coast of Peru. The yellow building, on this side is where I work most days. That's the municipality. And as you can see, we have a lot of palm trees. It's a very tropical, dry, kind of desert-like climate here where I live. So yeah, let's get started. So as I mentioned, my name is Jacqui. I'm actually originally from upstate New York, and I studied civil engineering in college. After college, I joined what's called the Peace Corps, which is a volunteer agency with the government, and I moved to Peru. And I've been here for about 2 years, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit about why I chose to come here, how I got here, why I decided to be an engineer, and hopefully help answer any questions you guys have. So growing up, this is a picture of me when I was younger. My parents loved to take us to go camping. Near where I lived in upstate New York, there's lots of forests, lakes, rivers, and I really enjoyed spending most of my time outdoors. I was super curious, super adventurous. I loved to get dirty, play in the mud, climb trees, swim in the rivers. So this sense of adventure and curiosity was really inherent in me since I was a little kid. Every summer, my parents would take us to the beach in Rhode Island. This is me with a bunch of my cousins. We enjoyed building sandcastles. I would dig through the sand looking for crabs or fun seashells. I would walk along the beach. Occasionally, we'd find different types of fish or baby sharks. And so, again, I really loved a good adventure. I also was very athletic. I think my parents put me in every sport that existed growing up. I played baseball, basketball, soccer, figure skating, you name it, I probably played that sport. And so I have a lot of really great memories and friends from all of those sports. And as I've learned from traveling and growing up, a lot of these sports exist in other countries, and maybe they have different rules, but there are a lot of similarities with the sports that we play in the United States. This is a picture of me just exploring some creeks that we have in upstate New York. I would often look for crayfish or baby frogs, and if my parents let me, I would take them home and try to care for them for a little while, maybe feed them crickets or other bugs and insects, and then let them go. I also really loved Legos. I think this is a point in my life where I really realized that I liked building things. I loved putting things together. I had a very creative mind. So I was always begging my parents to buy me Lego kits so I could construct them, deconstruct them, or build things without the instructions. More of me playing outside. This is some of the snow that we would get in upstate New York. As you can see, sometimes it's a lot. In the first picture, it's almost up to my shoulders there. But I would love to build snowmen, have snowball fights, make snow angels, climb the trees and jump off into the snow. Anything that involved adventure, I really loved it. This is me riding a snowmobile. My dad taught me how to ride snowmobiles when I was pretty young. We had a lot of land near our house, so I had the pleasure of being able to explore the forest in the summer, winter, fall, and spring, because we have 4 seasons in upstate New York. This is me on a beach. I really loved, along with the forest where I grew up in upstate New York, I also really loved the beach and was really grateful that my parents were able to take us to different places to explore. This kind of grew a curiosity in my mind to explore other places. It mostly started with the US, and as I grew older, I really became curious about what it would look like in other countries. These are some waterfalls that we have in upstate New York. You can actually walk behind them, jump in and swim in the pools. This was something we loved to do in the summer. I would try to hold my breath underwater as long as I could and dive and look for different fish or other animals that lived around these sorts of ecosystems. As I mentioned, growing up, I do have 4 sisters. I also grew up with a lot of dogs. Unfortunately, all of them didn't survive my entire childhood, but we always had about 4 or 5 dogs in my house. This is a picture of 4 of them here. They typically were always big dogs. It was great because there was one for each of my sisters. We could take them for walks, play with them outside, run around in the woods, and we had a lot of fun exploring with them. These are some of the mountains north of where I live in New York. This is during the fall when all of our leaves change colors. This for me was always a fascinating time of the year, and how everything would turn yellow, orange, and red. I loved hiking, kayaking, exploring through the forest this time of year. In the winter, I really love skiing. This is my best friend from my childhood. We have a lot of fun skiing in the mountains in New York. As you can see, basically any activity that put me outside, that put me in a new environment, something adventurous, something fun to do, I was always busy. Also, my favorite sport was figure skating. I started that once I was in high school, and I love skating on the frozen lakes that we have in upstate New York. And to this day, I actually still figure skate. Unfortunately, here in Peru, because it's very warm, we don't have any ice rinks or snow or ice. So I haven't skated in about 2 years. But when I return back to the States, that's definitely something I plan to do. I went to college after high school to study civil engineering. As I was growing up, being a super adventurous kid, I always had a lot of questions about things. And one of those questions was I always found it fascinating how people could build things and how everything could look so different. Everyone's house could look different. You could design something however you wanted, and there was a way to build it. And I realized from my parents traveling with us when I was younger that in other countries, they live completely different than we do in the United States. And that for me was really fascinating. I also loved Legos. And so I realized from a very young age that I wanted to learn how to construct things and specifically buildings. So I studied civil engineering in college. And that led to a lot of future travels where I have been able to help build buildings in other countries or do research. This is a picture from my most recent job before I moved to Peru during the pandemic. I was able to help build a hospital in New York, a very large hospital. And as a civil engineer, I got to work with all sorts of people, such as carpenters, painters, plumbers, electricians, you name it, architects. We all work together as a big team and make decisions together on how to construct the best hospital that we could. After that job, I really decided I wanted a different adventure in my life. I really wanted to give back to a community, and I wanted to experience living in another country. And so I decided to apply for the Peace Corps, which is a government agency, and they send volunteers all over the world. And I specifically applied to a program in Peru where I would teach concepts about water, sanitation, and hygiene in schools and in rural communities here in Peru. And I signed up to do that for 2 years. I didn't really speak Spanish before I came here, but I have an amazing host family that I live with, amazing friends that I've met here that have all helped me with my job and learning to speak a foreign language. This latest picture is actually from this week. I just finished teaching a bunch of primary school kids about rational use of water and the importance of water in our lives. I work in their community to help provide them clean drinking water. As an engineer, I help perform inspections and I help teach them about maintenance for their water system, which is very basic. But it's been a pleasure living here, and I'm excited to hear what questions you guys have about maybe how I grew up, how I ended up here in Peru, what I do here. Whatever curious questions you have, I would love to hear them. Thank you.
Awesome, Jacqui. What a great overview of your childhood. It's easy to see that you were outside a lot as a kid. Yeah. Are you still, I mean, has any of that changed? Are you outside at every possible moment, even now?
I would say yes, the majority of my job involves around visiting a lot of rural communities, being outside, talking with people. We have all of our meetings outside. In my free time, I'm riding my bike here. I'm going to the beach. I'm trying to explore new towns, sometimes getting lost, but that's a beautiful thing here because people here are super friendly. So yes, I would say the majority of my world revolves around exploring what we have in our world outside.
All right. So what's one thing that you can do to explore and have adventures in Peru that was not an option for you in upstate New York that you really find like unique and exciting about exploring where you live in Peru?
Yeah, for me, I would say the culture of how families are here in Peru. People are very friendly and very inviting, so it's not uncommon if you decide to explore a new town that maybe has a hike that you heard about or a camping spot or a waterfall that you want to swim in. It may be difficult to get there transportation wise, but you'll arrive and you'll find that a family is welcoming you into their house to have lunch with them. These are people you've maybe never met in your life. They want to cook you their traditional food. The kids want to show you games that they play. And so it's a really inviting experience to be able to visit new places here and have people be so inviting into their culture.
Fantastic. Reach the World students always have questions about what it's like to live with another family in another country. And you touched on that just a little bit. I have two questions for you. First of all, what's a typical day like when you're living in someone else's home, especially in your host family's home? And do they make a Peruvian dish, or is there a Peruvian food that surprised you or has become a fast favorite of yours?
Absolutely. So living with a host family for me was a blessing because I didn't really speak a lot of Spanish when I came here. And so they were able to teach me a lot of new words, correct my Spanish, and I really relied on them to give me advice on how to get places because I didn't know anybody else in my community. So they helped me make friends, explain how to get around in moto taxis or collectivos, which are modes of transportation we use here, how to buy food in the market. We don't really have grocery stores in my town, so everything was a whole new experience. I do have my own room in the house, but all the rest of the space in our house is commonly shared. We have a super cute puppy, and I eat my lunch with my host family. So every day, no matter what I'm doing or working, I come home, we sit down, we have lunch, we talk about our day. It's a really great time for me. And yeah.
What is the thing in your daily life that's the most different in Peru than it is in New York? Is there any aspect of your daily life that is just very, very different?
I would say the thing that's most different is that most people here don't have vehicles. And so a lot of the culture is getting around by walking places or taking collectivos. And also, my job is very different. So I work in schools, I work in a health post, I work in a municipality, and I work in rural towns with water systems. So I'm always running around like crazy. And the beauty of that is I have met so many people that now almost every day when I leave my house, someone recognizes me and says, "Hi, Jacqui, how are you today?" So being that I do have to walk most places, it's a great way to get to know people.
All right, excellent. I know we're going to get to a field note transportation article from you as part of your virtual exchange. I can't wait to learn more about TiVos and see some pictures of. I can't even really envision what that is right now. I have lots of questions about TiVos, and I'm sure students do too. So we'll wait for your field note transportation article on that one. But I wanted to, you touched a little bit on your job as a Peace Corps volunteer in Peru. And you, in your introduction, talked a little bit about what a civil engineer is and what a civil engineer does. You're teaching in classrooms, but you're also putting your civil engineer background to use for very, very good purpose. Can you tell a little bit more about water safety and some of the issues you're thinking about as a Peace Corps volunteer and civil engineer in Peru?
Sure. So a lot of engineers, regardless of if you're a civil engineer, maybe an environmental engineer, the main theme amongst engineers is problem solving. So we are very good at critical thinking and very good at problem solving. And a big part of that means you need a community of people to help you make decisions. You can't make decisions by yourself. And you're always thinking of different ideas to solve a problem. So, although in the States I worked as a civil engineer, most of the problem solving was in construction, in building. Here, that problem solving translates to building water systems. And what that basically involves is I have a lot of community sessions where I speak with leaders in a community, I speak with different families, kids in school, and we talk about maybe problems they have with their water systems. Maybe they only get water once a week. Maybe they only get water 3 days a week, but only 1 hour in the morning. Maybe their water is a weird color, has a weird smell, or it's very contaminated. All sorts of problems. Maybe they can't afford a pump to bring water to their house. There's a lot of different issues that we see in the communities here, all very unique to each community. And the main goal is that we can have conversations to try to find a solution to these problems that isn't going to cost us a bunch of money, because people here may not have the money to make their system perfect. But there are a lot of things that we can do as a community, as a team, to provide clean drinking water to their homes.
Excellent. We are going to dive much deeper into that topic over the course of this virtual exchange, but that's a great introduction to what engineers do, how engineers think, and the sort of challenges you're helping communities to solve as a Peace Corps volunteer in Peru. You mentioned Lego. Lego is something I think everybody loves. Maybe not everybody loves Lego, but I think a lot of students love Lego in particular. I think of it as a toy, but you described it as like something that really like set you up for your career. Can you talk a little bit more about like for the Lego lovers in the world, how can loving Lego become a career?
Absolutely. So I think it started with purchasing Lego kits and following the instructions, building what the instructions told me to, and then being done with it. And that very quickly morphed into realizing I really liked the process of being able to do what the instructions didn't tell me to do. And so I would take the Lego kits, I would sometimes throw out the instructions and just build whatever entered my mind. Maybe build something 2 or 3 times and change it, see if I could build a house, and then with the same Lego blocks, change that into building maybe a pool. And so I think there's a lot of creativity to be had with Legos. It's a great introductory tool for kids to experiment and play around with the creativity you have. And you don't necessarily need instructions. Life doesn't give us instructions. Life doesn't tell us what to do. And so you have the freedom and the creativity to do what your mind thinks. And that was something I really loved about Legos.
Fantastic. So all you Lego lovers out there, no matter your age,
Throughout the instructions.
yeah, throw out the instructions, or maybe just like put them away so you don't drive your parents crazy, and see what you can do with your imagination. You may be a civil engineer at heart. You talked a lot. You had a lot in your childhood about time around the oceans, around water. The water is kind of a theme in your story too. Are you? Or do you like to do anything else with water? I sort of get the sense you're probably like a scuba diver, or are you like to seek out underwater things whenever possible?
Yeah, so I do. I love the ocean. I love the water. For me, it's another world. Most of our life, we are land creatures. We see what exists on land, and we don't really explore what the water has to offer. We can't breathe underwater, obviously, so that complicates things a little bit. But I was always super curious about the ocean. The ocean does cover a majority of the world, and it connects many countries and cultures. So from a young age, I loved the ocean. As I entered college, I learned to scuba dive, and I've scuba dived in many countries in Asia, in the United States, in Latin America. I've seen all sorts of amazing creatures, which has gave me a deep appreciation for water we have in the world and the importance for us to care for our water systems, not only our drinking water that sometimes we take for granted because we can just open the faucet and it's there to drink, but also our oceans, because a lot of the food that we get, we need the oceans for that food. And it's very important here in my site. I live in a coastal site in Peru. A lot of families are fishermen families. They rely on catching fish here to sell in the markets. It's a big part of our diet here, and it's very central to life here in coastal Peru.
All right. I knew it. I knew that was going to be true. If Miss Bevins and any other educators who are watching right now, if you have questions for Jacqui, please drop them in the YouTube chat. If you put them there, I can see them and we can ask them directly to Jacqui. So please feel free to do that. I'm going to take one question from the chat, Jacqui. about sort of climate and weather differences between Peru and upstate New York. We saw a lot of snowy pictures of your childhood from upstate New York. Are you seeing that sort of range of seasons in Peru, or what is your sort of an average weather day like for you in coastal Peru?
So I live, like I mentioned, I live on the coast. Peru is a very diverse country. We have coast, we have mountains, and we have jungle. So you'll get very diverse climates in a short distance. So on the coast here, we have a dry season and what we refer to as a wet season. However, we don't really get rain because I live in a desert zone of the coast. The entire coast is not desert, but where I am, it is. We have a lot of sand dunes. I've only seen rain once since I've lived here for 2 years. And basically, I refer to the two seasons as really hot and less hot. So for half the year, it is very, very, very hot here. And the other half of the year, it's more mild, like in upstate New York spring kind of fresh weather. But the mountains here in Peru, they do get snow. They get very heavy torrential rain. And then as you go into the jungle, you get very tropical hot temperatures, and you also get their super rainy season.
Okay, and maybe the palm trees in your background should be our first clue that
Yes.
you're not in upstate New York right now.
No.
Awesome. Well, as we've talked about a couple times, you are a Peace Corps volunteer. You're spending 2 years in Peru doing your important work, and you get a chance to really integrate into the communities where you're living. As you mentioned before, you recognize people on the street and they say, "Hi, Jacqui, how are you?" And you're becoming and have become a very just integrated member of the community. What does that feel like to be, for many people don't get the chance to become a really meaningful member of a community outside of the one they grew up in. What is it like to be a new member of a community so far away from where you grew up?
Yeah, it's very validating. It's really hard to live in a new culture, live in a new country, or even, as I'm sure for some kids, if they've ever moved from one neighborhood to another while they were growing up, it can be a difficult adjustment period because we as people, we like to communicate with other people, and that's very validating for us to have friends and family where we feel comfortable. Um, Being here in Peru, as I mentioned, very central to the culture here is how friendly and inviting people can be. And so, really embracing me into their community. I look different, I sound different, I have very different habits, customs, all of that. And they've had the patience to accept my differences and also teach me about their culture so that um, I can adapt to the way that people live here. And that has allowed me to make a lot of friends in the community. And I feel like I am a part of the community. If I want to go play soccer with somebody, I have friends to go play soccer with or go to the beach with. My school students, if they see me out in the market, they'll come and say hi to me. So I really do feel like I live here.
All right. So how much of upstate New York, Jacqui, do you keep and maintain, and how much do you acclimate and change in order to fit into the community where you're living?
Sure. So, a big part of being in the community here is always being present. People really value your presence and dedication to things. So, it's not just about the work that I do here. I don't just wake up in the morning and go do my job. I make sure that I participate in a lot of community events. We have a lot of holidays here. People love to have big celebrations, birthday parties. Um, we celebrate a lot of religious events and holidays. We have bingo in the park sometimes. So anything like that, I always try to be present with people in my community. Um, and it's a great way to learn about their culture as well.
All right, excellent. Well, while I have a little break between questions, I'm going to put your Journey homepage link up at the bottom of the screen. This is where Jacqui is publishing her virtual exchange articles for her Reach the World virtual exchange. She has already submitted a wonderful autobiographical journal to introduce herself that includes a lot of photos from her work in the community, as we've been discussing today. And this is where all of Jacqui's future articles, her field notes about transportation, how she gets around in Peru, her field notes about food, her more detailed articles about her work as an educator and as a civil engineer in Peru. That's where they're going to be. And we will be following Jacqui and going on this journey with her for the next several weeks up until about the end of the school year in the United States. So we have a lot more to discuss. And this is a place to bookmark if you haven't already, where your students can, and if you are a student, where you can go and read these articles straight from Jacqui that she's producing. Jacqui, I think we skipped over, we didn't touch on food. I asked you about food, but we talked a little bit about living in the house. Do you have a favorite Peruvian food?
Yes. I do, something that I'm going to miss extremely when I leave here, because it is made with something that only grows here in Peru. So my favorite dish is called tallarines a la huancaína. It is a pasta dish. My family is Italian, so growing up in upstate New York, I ate a lot of pasta. And here in Peru, it's not a very common dish, so I fell in love with it very quickly. It is pasta. It is made with a sauce that is very yellow, that comes from a yellow pepper called ají. That pepper only grows here in Peru. And so they mix that pepper. It's not spicy, don't worry. They mix that pepper with some cheese and some garlic and other spices. They blend it and make a sauce, and they put it on top of pasta. And so it's a very creamy, kind of like a creamy Alfredo, but with a different flavor. And for my birthday last year, my host family asked, "What would you like for your birthday?" And I said, "All I want is that you prepare me tallarines a la huancaína."
I still have a couple hours to go until lunch. You are making me too hungry for this phase of the day. That sounds delicious. Wow. Yum. I feel like Peruvian cuisine is amazing, and we can learn a lot more from you about some special dishes that students, teachers, families can make, possibly using some ingredients that they can find in the United States to try some things that are uniquely Peruvian during our adventure with you. So I'm excited to explore food a little bit further. As sort of my last question, I want to give one more invitation. I think one of our classrooms is having some tech problems, but please. Whoop. Sorry, my phone just messed up a little bit. I don't know how much of that you caught, Jacqui, but as we wrap up today, can you hear me okay?
Yep, now I can.
Okay. As we wrap up today, you are an explorer. You are curious about the world around you, and you're always learning about your new community in Peru. How do you explore Peru?
Sure. There's a lot of ways to explore, not necessarily physically, like you don't need to get in a vehicle and go somewhere to explore. A lot of exploring can be done through trying new foods. I can't say I've enjoyed all the foods I've tried here. However, I'm always willing to try new foods. Exploring can also mean when you're getting to know new people, kind of asking them, what does Peru mean to you? What do people here like to do for fun? Really making it a point to understand what's important to other people in their culture. Attending Peruvian holidays here. People here love to dance. Music is very important. So maybe I've learned a few songs here from popular Peruvian bands. I know a few of the traditional dances. And of course, I can't dance them like locals here, but it's for me, it's very important to be a part of the culture. You really have to integrate yourself into everything that your community does. So exploring can mean, like I said, food, music, dance. It could be through your work. It could be through getting to know what your friends do, sports, what people play in your community. And it could also be, getting in a combi, which is a form of public transportation here, and just asking a local, hey, I want to go camping this weekend. What's a beautiful place near where I live that I can get out into the mountains or go swim in a waterfall? And you'll find so many places that don't exist on the internet that are really secrets to locals here, and those are beautiful places.
Oh, that's fabulous. I'm adding combi to the list of transportation in Peru that we need to hear more about in the future. As we wrap up for today in your first live stream, and for anyone who's watching, we're going to return to talk to Jacqui live at least 2 more times over the course of this virtual exchange because we have so much more to cover. What are you looking forward to? I know you've been in your community for a while now, over a year, as I understand it. What are you looking forward to, and what can we look forward to in experiencing through your eyes for the rest of this virtual exchange?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to being able to show you guys what life is like in another country. It's not necessarily as different as I think most kids would think, or even adults, when you say, oh, I moved to Peru in South America. It's so far, it's so foreign. There are a lot of things here in the community that are similar to things that we have in the United States. And there are a lot of things that are very different. And so I'm looking forward to being able to show you guys how life here is similar and different, and some of the things that I do for fun here, and like I said, some of the things that we eat, and what it means to be in Peru.
All right, fabulous, Jacqui. Well, it has been so much fun to talk to you today. We are going to cover everything Jacqui said and more over the coming weeks together on this virtual exchange. Jacqui, thank you so much for joining us today, for fitting us into your schedule. That is all the time we have together. I want to thank our entire YouTube live stream audience for joining us today. We're glad you are here. And also another hello to the classrooms who are going to be watching the recording after the fact. Like I said, again, we are just getting started with Jacqui's expedition to Peru. Don't miss her wonderful virtual exchange articles on her journey page. And if you missed that link before, it is in the chat for you. You can find it there. We will reconnect live with Jacqui again very soon. But for today, it is so long. And I encourage you all to keep exploring. I hope you'll join us for another virtual exchange adventure soon. Thank you so much, Jacqui. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Thank you.